In this video, I'd like to discuss the economic and social change and development in Iran. First, let's begin with talking about globalization. So Iran is a rentier state which derives much of its economy based off foreign oil leases, using the oil inside of Iran. In the 1980s, following the Iranian Revolution of 1979, a lot of businesses were nationalized. This included banks, private industries. A lot of what the Shah used to own became bunyads, which were more like organizations which the state had a lot more control over. In the Iran and Iraq War, $500 billion was lost in that war. For Iran, in the 1990s, there was 20% inflation in Iran, and by the year 2000, and in that year, there was 16% unemployment in Iran. The 1980s and 1990s, Iran's economy was based a lot on this oil exporting, which constituted around a third to two-thirds of the economy, depending on oil prices. So it's a very large amount. Now, looking more at the recent Iranian economy, the Iran nuclear deal looked to help relieve some of these sanctions on Iran that were placed on by the West to limit uranium enrichment. So once that deal went through, there's a lot. The economy actually grew in Iran. It helped as there wasn't a lot of trade restrictions and sanctions. There was 12% GDP growth in Iran in 2016, but that lowered to 3% GDP growth in 2017. And in 2018, the Iranian nuclear deal was ended, which did place a few more sanctions on Iran. In 2020, there was 6.8% of the GDP of Iran declined, and there's 36.5% inflation in Iran. Now, while there are and there continues to be all of these tariffs by the West on Iran, a lot of the oil that Iran exports goes to China and India, who, there have been threats of tariffs by the West, but these are still strong trade partners with Iran when it comes to oil. Looking more at the social policies of Iran, social welfare began to start in the 1920s in Iran. It included workers in the government, in industries, and in petroleum production. Now, healthcare, rather than just social welfare, is provided by the government, the private sector, non-governmental organizations, and charity. Healthcare was provided in Iran through health houses, and in 2014, the Health Transformation Plan was adopted in Iran, which really went to provide a lot more healthcare to the population of Iran and went to lower prices of healthcare, not just treatment, but also of medications and such. And some of the shifting demographics of Iran: 1966, family planning began in Iran, but by 1979, there were 6 children per woman in Iran. Now, the Iran-Iraq War, there was to be less family planning as more soldiers were needed for the army, or that's what the government believed. And so each woman had around 6.5 children, increasing from when the Iranian Revolution took place. Now, following the war, there was increased family planning, trying to have less children as the development of Iran might not have been able to support it right following the war, as it needed to rebuild. And there were a lot of government programs. And then by the time 2005 came around, each woman was having 2 children. Now, in 2010, the Iranian government came back and now wants family expansion to continue, and less of that family planning to have smaller families, but now the family planning to have larger families. And there were incentives for family expansion that began in 2010, and the Iranian government began to phase out those government programs that really made families smaller. Now, looking at Iran in the future, in the past around 3 to 4 years, there were 25,000 COVID-19 cases per day on the high end in 2020, and 1,730,000 60,000 COVID-19 cases happened from the beginning, or that beginning outbreak of COVID-19, to March of 2021. Iran was one of those countries that was hit hard really early on. There were 61,000 COVID-19 deaths by the time March 2021 came around. That's counting from the beginning of the outbreak. And there were 60,000 COVID-19 hospitalizations in April 2021. And also recently in 2019, there was a fuel price protest. Sometimes when the Iranian government raises the fuel price, there's a lot of protests, as there are in many societies. However, when tariffs were removed for fuel in around 2009, there wasn't a lot of protests, as there was significant crackdown from the Green Revolution and stuff such as that, which sparked from the 2009 presidential election. And looking more at it with the Iran nuclear deal, it has been signaled by parties, the United States and Iran, that there might be a new deal coming, but it is unknown. There's not been a deal reached at this point in time. Thank you all for watching these videos about Iran. Next up, I will be covering Mexico. Thank you all for watching.